men's standings here very briefly in the Northern Division of the men in the CIAA. It's Virginia Union, winners of 4 in a row still, 20-3 overall, 9-2 in conference, 5-1 in division play with that lead over Virginia State. Right now in the Northern Division. In the South, it's the Fayetteville State men. Coach Hearn, new coach, 8-game winning streak. So the Fayetteville State Broncos with a pair of 8-game winning streaks for the men and women. Fayetteville, Steve will say they are not, but I was about to say Fayetteville State, a basketball school, and he will probably say no.
They've had a good run. No, I know. It's interesting as you look up the standings. You look at Bluefield State's men. They're coached by DeLessio, who just left Fayetteville State, and he led them to their best. He led them to their best era in modern basketball. I mean, he won 66% of his games while he was there. And he previously coached at Bowie State, where he really, turned their fortunes around and won them some CIAA champions at the beginning of this century. So he's a great coach. And he really took that program from being, really just another CIAA program to being, right up there at front, competing with the Virginia Unions, with the Winston-Salem States, the programs that are traditionally the basketball schools. Again, it doesn't hurt that they have that NC Promise, that tuition. They've been able.
What is that? What is that? For those who don't know, who are not part of the North Carolina system, what is that? Explain a little bit of that.
So NC Promise is, and again, and Elizabeth City has it too. So this is no way to downgrade, but just to kind of give context to the rise specifically of the basketball. Not only did you have Coach DeLessio, but you have NC Promise. NC Promise makes tuition $500 for in-state students and $1,500 for out-of-state students. And I think that was the initial. I think that it has changed a little bit with inflation, but still a lot. So it's a lot less expensive to go to Fayetteville State or Elizabeth City State than it is to Winston-Salem State. When it initially came out back in 2015, actually Winston-Salem State and Fayetteville State both fought to get off of it. We went down to the Capitol and fought to get off of it, but Fayetteville had a change in leadership, and they brought in that NC Promise, and the football program was already on an upward trajectory. Basketball, kind of lingered behind, but they were able to, so it makes it a lot cheaper to get fully funded with your athletic, your scholarships when the tuition goes down that much. So, kudos to them for taking advantage of it. And then Coach DeLessio came in and immediately turned them into a contender. I think they were in the championship game for his first year in 2020. They lost to the Rams, but they and then the next time we had one, they won a championship, which was their first championship since 1974. My parents were in elementary school, and I'm 40 now, so that tells you, how long it was.
74 was a great year, though. 74 was a great year.
It's so Coach DeLessio made that a much better job than it has been. I did my CIAA job rankings, and
I saw that. I saw that. That's a great transition.
So he made it a much better job, but they decided to go. I thought it was it was eerie how all of that happened, to be honest with you.
Was that a culture? Was that I felt like when I looked at, and I put this out there yesterday. Hold on. I think I still got the graphic up. Let me see if I still. Nope, I think I deleted it. But when you look at it, and I'm just saying it what it is, it seemed like it was a culture thing. Like, hey, we wanted to go younger, more hip, for lack of a cooler word. You know what I'm saying? They went. It feels like they went with a different type of culture. Not that DeLessio. I mean, I don't know what your sources tell you. I mean, I don't know that he was doing anything that didn't translate to winning, because he was winning.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Which shocked everybody. It's like, wait a minute, the guy's winning. Why are you getting rid of him?
Yeah, I mean, he won. If I'm not mistaken, he won the Big House Games Award. Wonder what that award is named after. He won that award last year, coaching the HBCU All-Star Game, And then during the All-Star game, it came out that he wasn't going to be back with Fayetteville State. And literally the same day that came out, the news came out that Devin Hearn was not going to be back with Bluefield State. I'm like, no way, but it has to be. And then the next day, Devin Hearn's named the head coach at Bluefield at Fayetteville State, and then a couple weeks later, DeLessio gets hired there. Again, when I'm doing this story and we talked about the Field of 48 earlier, it was actually inspired by that what they did, but I had a different twist on it. I know I just kind of went with my institutional knowledge and I talked to a couple former coaches and things like that to get some insights about what would be, because I knew they weren't going to do a D2 one, so I was like, what would be the best jobs in the CIAA? And when you look at it, Fayetteville, again, I don't know if this is the downside to that NC Promise where you're not, where I don't know if that is that, but I do remember looking when Cleo Hill went on up to that big Maryland Eastern Shore in the sky. I was looking up salaries and I saw that, Coach DeLessio wasn't making as much as I thought would be made for someone who had as much success as he had. Then when I did my list the other day, I looked at what Coach Hearn's salary is. And I mean, let's say this. Their coach, he has, in the last 3 seasons, he had one of the shocks of the CIAA tournament. He took down my Rams, who looked like they were going for a repeat. Then last year they made it to the CIAA championship game and the Division II playoffs to get hired at Fayetteville State, and his salary was significantly less than the head coach over at WSSU, Coach Corey Thompson, who came in 2024 as a new coach, a first-time college head coach. There's about a third, more than $30,000 salary difference. So, I don't know if it was a money situation where, hey, they felt like they could get somebody, younger and a little bit less expensive, but I know it's worked out for him. And I kind of felt like it would, because I think for him, this is a great job. And with the things that they have, and they really do have, outside of Virginia State, they've got the best arena in the CIAA and probably better than a couple of them in MEAC, if we're being honest. With the facilities and with everything that's going on at Fayetteville State, I feel like it's a great position to him. Who knows, he might be out of there in a couple of years. I wouldn't be mad, but he's a young guy. He plays a fun style of basketball, and yeah, it definitely was a basketball culture change for sure, because they went from being a heavily defensive style, like Coach DeLessio was like, hey, if we score 60 and win, I'm good with it. Coach Hearn, if they're not scoring 90, something's wrong. So it's been interesting to watch from the outside, and who knows? But Coach DeLessio, he's at a place where I had Bluefield State at the bottom of my list.
Yeah.
He's turned the corner there, and he's got those guys playing. I mean, he's just a really good basketball coach. He knows how to assess what he has and get the most out of it. So we could see them match up in the CIAA. I think there's a lot of fun things. Even over at Bluefield State, I also shout out their women's basketball team. They just took down Virginia State, who is the leader in the CIAA North. And, despite the 15-point win for WSSU women, they had them kind of, they stayed close for a good part of the game. So, and they just so happened to be coached by Paul Davis, who happens to be the all-time leading shot blocker at WSSU. But he's doing an amazing job with that program over there. And the CIAA tournament is going to be interesting for men and women. I think, you got Fayetteville in the women's side, you got Fayetteville State. Obviously, they're the champions until they're taken down. You got Winston-Salem State, they're emerging. And then you got Bluefield State kind of coming out of nowhere. You got Virginia State, and you can't even count out Virginia Union. So, really looking forward to the CIAA tournament, as always, this year.
I put for you guys in the chat. I put the link to Steve's article on the ranking the CIAA coaching jobs. Now that's the men's. Are you're now this whole thing came as a result of, as you mentioned, the field. Who was it? Was it the field of 68 that was doing the?
Yeah,
They
field of
were
68.
talking to So they were doing the men's programs. Are you going to follow this up with something for the CIAA? Or no, I'm sorry, the SIC, and will you do a women's version of this? Do you think you'll go down that rabbit hole?
I think the women's version would kind of read similar. I'll tell you this. Let me give you this nugget right here. That's if I do it or if I don't. I think this should be known. Virginia State was my number one. If you don't know, and I ranked that for several reasons. One of them was facilities. Again, they have that beautiful multi-purpose center, which God, in my dreams we would get one of those. Which again, to me is the best basketball facility on the East Coast in terms of HBCUs, period.
Wow.
On the East Coast. I wouldn't count FAMU as the East Coast now that y'all are in the SWAC, but I think FAMU, from what I saw of FAMU when I did go in there, those two are probably the best two if you're really going up and down the East Coast, even though there's some other good ones, but it's an impressive facility and they really get the most out of it. But they also pay really well. I mean, their coach, and I talked about this last year. I talked about this last year when, FAMU was talking about how much Coach Crary was going to be paid. I said that, Virginia State's head coach makes more than that. And, I got the official numbers before I got this, and this was $191,000 for a D2 coach at an HBCU. And again, you look at the numbers from some of your public HBCUs in Division I, they're paying the same, if not less. So, it's so by far I rank that the number one job. But also, their women's basketball coach is making Millette Green her first year. She's making 143. She's making 143. And yes, right, definitely right there. But she's making 143, which is more than any of the men salaries that I could confirm. And the CIAA is kind of tough, and I'm guessing it'd be tough in the SIC too because so many schools are private. So that would be the one that would kind of be one hindrance for me doing there. I think the women's side it would kind of be the same. It's hard to. I mean, when you're talking about jobs, it's hard to ignore getting paid that much and having a nice facility to be into, and the fact that in Virginia, as far as Division II basketball, you're not competing with a lot of schools. So all those reasons, I have VSU number one. I had WSSU number two. I went back and forth between that and VUU. Both of them. Both of them have the same. Both of them have the same Achilles heel, and that is facilities. Both of them, national championship winning programs, Hall of Fame coaches, NBA basketball players, Hall of Fame, all of those things. But both of them are still using, antiquated gymnasiums. The building over at Virginia Union, I believe, was built for the 1939 World's Fair. So it's like the Boston Garden.
I was gonna say it's like
That's like the
throwback. It's
Boston
like
Garden,
throwback in
and
time.
Game Center is like the LA Forum. Yeah, it's like the Garden and the Forum,
Yes,
or
and you want
Madison
to see
Square
what
Garden. It's
basketball
like,
was
yeah,
like 20
you're
years,
gonna
30
go
years ago.
there, but it's not. When you're comparing. So yeah, I got a couple calls and some eyeballs from some coaches. So I don't know. Cost, and I even looked at things like cost of living as well. I mean, Petersburg isn't super high. So yeah, I had fun with that. I don't know with the SIC. I'm, it probably has to be a lot of more research. That kind of forming my head for a while for this AA, and now it makes sense to kind of to piggyback off.
Let me see. We still got you. Okay, I still got you. I'm starting to losing you there. your connection
Okay,
or
I hear you. I hear you.
okay, good. Good. All right.
I hear you. Can you hear me now?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're good. You're better. Fascinating stuff. But I love those kind of articles and those kind of narratives and information because it really does, and it made me think, okay, so is Virginia State and Virginia Union benefiting because of things that are maybe happening from a state level? Is it administration within the university that makes those jobs so appealing? And then you mentioned, like you said, Winston-Salem State, Virginia Union, they have the history, and it's like, wow, if you had a basketball multi-purpose facility similar to what maybe Fayetteville State or even Virginia State had, what would life look like for you? And maybe it's not that you're not doing well, but how much better could it be if you had better, overall facilities, So
Yeah. I
fascinating.
think for me, the state of Virginia is doing. I mean, even though we're bordered right beside each other, and people like to often group us with the other Carolina. A lot of ways there are a lot more similarities with Virginia, but Virginia does not have as many HBCUs. We have many more here in North Carolina, but the ones that they do have, they are doing a really good job of supporting them. Again, Virginia State and Norfolk State are the two state HBCUs versus the 5 that we have here in North Carolina. So you take that into consideration, but they also do some things for Virginia Union as well. But yeah, that multi-purpose center is a game changer up there, and yeah, for Union being a private school, it's amazing to have done what they've done. I think traditionally they played a lot of their games in the Richmond Coliseum, but with that having gone down and things like that, it's just like we played a lot of our games in the Coliseums over in Winston-Salem for a long time, but that kind of but now Wake Forest owns that. So we're limited to the game center, which the capacity is 2,400. There are literally no seats. There are no backs of seats anywhere. So it's bleachers all the way. So everybody, unless you bring your own seat, that's you're going to be it's not the most comfortable viewing experience. It's hot in there. Even like if we were to go in there right now, even though it's snowing, everybody would be warm because there's a pool in there that keeps it warm. So those are some advantages. Yeah, you think what it would be like to have those. Again, I know at WSSU, a lot of our games, alumni would like to come, but a lot of games, once you get to this back end of the schedule, if you're not in the building by the start of the game, you're not going to get in. And coming from out of town to a game and hoping you can get in isn't always a winning proposition. No. So I will say Virginia State, I would say their atmosphere probably suffers some for the niceness of the arena because it's so plush, it's so comfortable. Everybody doesn't have to sit on top of each other. That atmosphere maybe not as intimidating maybe as their previous gym, but it's very fascinating. But even in all those, Shaw by far is the smallest gym, the most intimate gym. Literally, when Jay-Z has that line where he says, "I'm spiked out, I can trip a referee." That can really happen at Shaw University, Spalding Arena. But it's a great place to play and to watch a game if you can get in. So I think those small venues are what add to what makes CIAA basketball great. I mean, you can even attest to Bethune-Cookman, their gym. I know I've heard you guys, make some jokes about it, but I'm sure it doesn't take nearly as many people to get it full and fired up. And y'all have that nice arena, but y'all have to, shepherd people into there a lot of games. Hey, look,
so back in the day when Gaither Gymnasium, which I think
great name by the way.
Yeah, when it seated about 3,500, I think was the capacity before they built the Al Lawson Center in Tallahassee. That place was rocking. I mean, 3,500 is not really hard to fill up on a campus of 10,000 students.
Right.
So that part right there, but the energy that you can, and then you have the pep band there. So the energy would be awesome
Yeah.
for games. And
Yeah.
that's what sometimes can be missed when you go bigger, brighter, larger, and don't carry over with the winning as well. Because when the
Yeah.
winning doesn't follow the new stadium, you end up with a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
emptiness.
Yeah, no, and I tell people a lot of times, like people will say go to CIAA tournament, and yeah, the CIAA tournament is great, but going to a place like Brave Boy Gymnasium on Beatty's Ford Road, Johnson C. Smith, if you're not familiar, that's one of those places. Also, if you go up the road 45 minutes to Monroe Street in Salisbury, you go to the Den of the Blue Bears. Another team that likes to think that there's Winston-Salem State's rival. But now they have a great atmosphere, and they're putting a lot into their presentation. You talk about Shaw, you talk about a lot of those smaller buildings that really have a lot of flavor to them. So it's exciting. I think my next ranking is going to be probably even more controversial. It's going to be of the CIAA network streams.
Oh, it's funny you say that because as I was at home watching SWAC TV and watching the broadcast of the FAMU game at Alabama A&M, it got me to thinking, man, I wonder if I should spend the month of February really watching and come out with a ranking of the best broadcast, amongst the SWAC TV for basketball coverage. Because anybody who knows me and has worked with me, I'm very critical, but I kind of see a lot of the details and things as it relates to TV production. And so I thought, hey, this would be a fascinating thing. So it's kind of interesting that you talked about ranking, the CIA network, because I think we need to hear it. I mean, it needs to be heard. It needs to be put out there. And, unfortunately, I don't know how transparent numbers are within the CIA network for you. But I think it would also be fascinating to one day get some transparency from the SWAC to see who are those schools that are bringing in those large numbers that we hear Dr. McClellan talk about. Who are those schools, that are, even if it were, hey, these are the top 3, or the top 4. I mean, there's 12 schools, so give me the top third. Who are the top 4 schools in terms of their broadcast coverage? And I'd be willing to bet that their broadcast coverage is somehow linked to viewership. I mean, sure, alumni matters, but also I think at some point there's a tie-in with the coverage as well. So it's like coverage, the success of your team, and then, your alumni base.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things. The CIAA network has been around since, I believe, 2017, 2018. And very early on, it was a wide range of quality.
I remember,
and it was kind of like the Wild Wild West. But it was free. It was on Roku, and things like that. And so, since then, they have come into some deals that have landed all of the schools some basic cameras. Like they have the Huddle wide camera for everybody now. So everybody has that basic one. And I think it's, one of the things I'm looking at is how are people maximizing what they have? Because even within the same conference, even within the same state, there's varying levels depending on, sometimes it may depend on, your folks up top, your ADs, how much they are putting up on this. Some of it may intend on your sports information directors and how much energy and time they're able to put into it. I'll tell you right now, I give Fayetteville State a lot of crap here, but Adrian Ferguson, SID, a Livingstone grad and former SID at Livingstone and WSSU. We always have those ties back around.
Always comes
He
back.
does a really great job over there at Fayetteville State. Their broadcast, them and Livingstone and Shaw, they don't just give you that wide camera. They actually have, multi cameras, multi views. They give you replays, and they have graphics. Some of them have post-game shows. So those are the types of things that I'm measuring and putting into my metrics as far as ranking the broadcast there, and then different levels of broadcast. Some have some really senior, polished broadcasters who do a great job. My guy John Emmett over VSU Voice. If you guys haven't interviewed him, you guys need to interview him. He does a great job there, and he really has a great sense of institutional knowledge. You got Donald Ware over from Box to Row, who does for Shaw University. He and his partner Damon, they do a great job. My
He
guys
does
over
Shaw as well as A&T stuff, because I know Donald has done A&T stuff. He does both.
Yeah. Donald's everywhere. So
he's everywhere.
Him and the guys over at Winston, I love them too. Ken Winfrey and John Williams. So there's a lot of really good work that's being done there. Now some folks have gone with some young, mixed in an old veteran and some younger. So some of them aren't as sharp. Some of them need some work on their needs to work on trying with their pronunciations, and that ends up in our. You'd be surprised at things that they end up in our WSSU group chat. But yes, So there's some smoke for several, some smoke for several announcers there. But it's fun to do, and hopefully it just like the CIAA jobs. Hopefully it gives. Hey, it's one man's opinion, but it is. As somebody who's watched and followed the league since 2012 consistently, hopefully they take that into consistency, and everybody takes a little bit more pride about it. Like I said, I already got calls. I already got text about my list. Jeff was letting me know because I did mention location, and hey, some of that might be biased, but I think there's certain locations that are more ideal than others. I did call Elizabeth City remote, which may make people feel some type of way. But
remote.
My grandmother's from that part of the state, and so I say it with affection. And yes, they are close to the Tidewater of Virginia, but it's in my experience again having family that are from there. It's tough to get people to come into that region from other places, and a lot of times some of your best talent that's in that region wants to go to other places. And so that's kind of why I had location on them. Other places like a Shaw, they got a great location. They're private. I don't know what they're paying Coach Collins. And then you got the facilities, which, that is that as well. So, but I hope, I think it's always great to have that, hopefully as a measuring stick, and people, put pride in their programs. I know everybody, is talking about money and things like that. And of course that always matters, but, maximizing what you have and bringing up the standard, I think is definitely important.
The metric, I don't know if you have a metric when you get into dealing with broadcast and you talked about using that vehicle, how many schools within the network have their own advertising? Yeah. How many of them have none? How many of them use maybe just the standard? Like, obviously the SWAC has certain commercials that they use, but for example, does the CIA network does the CIA conference send the schools some of the sponsors and say, hey, can you run these during your broadcast? That's an interesting thing to look at as well.
Yeah, I think the CIAA has some standard stuff that they have. I mean, obviously their CIAA branding, they have that there, and then I think it's kind of like I think there are some partners there, but some schools do run their own. Pretty much, I think all the schools run their own app. They're free to run their own advertisements as well. Some of them are nice 30-second clips, and some of them are like really infomercials of their university where they actually go in and interview students or interview student athletes and talk about it, during the halftime situation, instead of just giving you a view of the court for 15 minutes or, so, and I'm going to tell you right now, I love WSSU. They're not going to be number one. Let me tell you that for the streaming. They're not going to be number one. But I'm trying to quantify everything that I do And again, it's something that I think is it'll be good. It'll be good fodder. And I see Mo Carter talking about seeing rankings of the SWAC TV broadcast. I have a feeling, when I get to Baltimore for the CIAA, there might be some people that want to run up on me, but hey, that's usual. I'm used to that by now. So it'll be all good.
But you know what? The fascinating thing about that, Steve, you will probably get people say, "Man, I'm so glad you did that article because you're calling out things that I've been saying we need to do for like at least a year or two."
Yeah,
and now that you said it,
I know they're in Winston-Salem group chat, so they got to be in other people's group chats as well. Like, what's going on. So some folks are doing a really great job. I mean, you can tell. I mean, again, like I said, I was over there the other day at the Fayetteville State game and watching the operation that Adrian Ferguson has over there. And he's been in this game, since the 90s. Watching, the operation that he has over there, and it's like they're like a well-oiled machine over there, and it shows in their broadcast. Hopefully I'm gonna get that done this week. I've watched most of them, but I'm giving everything a view with some fresh eyes while we're snowed in anyway. So and no games are actually going on.
There you go. I will definitely love the trade notes on your parameters and what you use and what kind of I've been thinking about over the last week.
Well, I told you, I mean, look.
You already said some of it, most of
your
it probably.
Announcers, your presentation. Do you have graphics? What are you doing for halftime?
Right.
Are you just letting people see the court? What's going on in the court if there's nothing special going on? All of those things. Do you have a post-game interview with your coach?
Yes.
Some schools do, some schools don't.
Shout out to Mo Carter and Coach Petway. Really enjoyed. Look, despite the fact that I had to watch both of my Rattler teams lose at Alabama A&M, I did enjoy watching the broadcast and listening to the broadcast. Mo and Coach Petway are so locked in and so engaging and just very knowledgeable. So, when your team in the SWAC goes to Alabama A&M, it may be painful, that game that they play, but the broadcast, you will enjoy the heck out of the broadcast. It was painful to watch at times.
And you noticed, and I mean, I think that's the other thing too. You notice when you look at the other broadcast versus your broadcast. So, again, I know every school is different. Every institution has different leadership and different things, but I love to see the growth in them. I've seen a lot of growth in some of them, not as much as in some of the others. And sometimes, you got to embarrass people into doing better.
Ooh, you said it. Let's get into some of the top 5, the new BCSN top 5 computer rankings. And again, for those of you who aren't familiar, we do top 5 rankings of all computer-based metrics for the Division I, Division II, and NAIA levels for men and women. So that's 6 different rankings. These are not polls. We didn't go out and ask voters for their opinions. We just put the data into the computer, and the computer spits out rankings. Oftentimes, it surprises people what comes out. But I will say at the end of the day, by the time the season's over, the computer 95.9% of the time gets it right. There's always anomalies, but I'd say most of the time they get it right. All right, let's see what we're going to start with here, Steve, because let me see if I have this set up in order. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to start over in the NAIA level with the women's top 5 rankings to begin the new month, February. In the hunt, meaning these are schools that fall outside of the top 5. You've got Russ College, Xavier, Stillman, Philander Smith, and Talladega. So with the exception of, I always got to do my check here. I think with the exception of Xavier, everybody else is HBCUAC, I believe. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. Top 5. Coming in at number 5, the Arkansas Baptist in the HBCUAC conference. The numbers there are the calculated average for the score. Number 4 is Wiley College. coming in at 4. Number 3, Oakwood, HBCU AC team, 75.02. Number 2 is Paul Quinn. Paul Quinn, 80.92. I think these are all HBCU ACs, at least thus far. I got a feeling number 1 won't be, though. It is still leading at the top with a nice
gotta count
separating.
those ladies in.
Yeah, the Langston Lady Lions, 92.58, still number 1. Let me see. Have they come out with the new rankings at the NAIA level yet?
I have
that
not
come out this past week.
I have not seen those. I think I'm looking at this and it's like, okay, the jump from 6 to 5 is pretty. I mean, it's almost 10 points.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's pretty established where they are, and then 4 is kind of bunched in 2, and then you go up from there. So
there's a big difference between 1 and 2 to 5. It's like a nice jump there. All right. Moving over to the men's side. In the hunt, outside of the top 5 in the NAIA, Xavier coming in at number 6, if you wanted to do it that way. Philander Smith, Southern of New Orleans, or SUNO, as some people like to call them, and Dillard out of New Orleans, coming in at number 5 in the BCSN top 5 rankings on the NAIA men's level. Stillman. And, Steve, every now and then our interns, they get a little rushed. And so, the graphics don't always match up. Stillman come in at number 5. That is Stillman. Don't get fooled by the logo. Number 4, Talladega comes in at number 4. Talladega. And number 3, and you can see the interns are all over the place with the logos. Tougaloo comes in at number 3. At 2, Arkansas Baptist, 86.33 points. Arkansas Baptist was number 2 last week. And that means, again, for the consecutive week, every week we've done this, the Langston men sitting atop the BCSN top 5 rankings, 87.21. But look at that margin, though, Steve. That is a very thin margin between Langston and Arkansas Baptist.
Yeah, thin between those two. Tougaloo kind of up there, and then you fall off a cliff after there. Talladega, Stillman there, and Xavier. So, I mean, again, Coach Wright and those guys, I mean, they seem like they can do no wrong at this point. So, that's expected, and it's like, until otherwise proven, or unless there's a collapse, everybody else is fighting for number 2.
Do you think there is in football, when we do football, we kind of rank and group NAIA and Division II because of the scholarship situation. We rank them together. Do you think there is a similarity or much of a difference between NAIA and Division II on the basketball front?
It's tough to say. Here in North Carolina, I know for sure there's not a lot of NAIA. And I think I was looking at a map. There's not a lot of NAIA really on the East Coast. So, I don't think we get a lot of those matchups to know personally for me, like we do sometime in football. But, I mean, I think, Langston would match up with any of the best in the D2s as well. So I don't know. For me, it's kind of hard to say, not being able to really put eyes on it a lot. I know sometimes there is a little bit more crossover in the SIAC because they are a little bit closer to some of those teams in the HBCU AC. So I think more teams play basketball. So I like, because in football we only have 3 NAIA programs: Florida Memorial, Langston, and
Texas College.
And Texas College. We only have 3 there, so it makes more sense there. Whereas with basketball, everybody in the NAIA plays basketball, so I think it's great to let them have their own poll and give them some shine, because then it's it's a little bit different.
And to answer your question, Blue Jackie, yes, Coach Chris Wright is still the men's coach at Langston. and does an excellent job. And like I said, I just wonder, not that I'm pushing anybody to leave a job, but man, it makes you wonder. It's like, how much longer will he be at Langston? So yeah, and I'm told that on the football front, Arkansas Baptist also has a football program.
Okay.
We were talking about NAIAs, so they also have so 4 NAIA football programs. Let's take a look at the Division II rankings here as we get a little closer here in the NCAA. This is the Division II women's top 5 rankings. Just outside of the top 5, Virginia State, Clark Atlanta, and Allen. Just outside of the top 5. That means number 5 from out of the SIC, Lane College. Lane having a good season this year in the SIC. I was just looking at the standings for Lane, sitting in second place by about, let me see, about 2.5 games behind Miles. I mean, if Lane can finish as a 2 in the conference, I think that'd be a major accomplishment on that side of the division for Lane. Number 4, Edward Waters, the Tigers, coming in at number 4, right there in Jacksonville, part of the SIAC. Edward Waters currently in first place in the Eastern Division of the SIC, 16-4 overall, with a 1-game lead over Clark Atlanta. Coming in at number 3, the Rams, formerly number 1, dropped a couple of spots after the loss to Fayetteville State, but they did rebound with the win against Johnson C. Smith. So the Rams fall a little bit. And speaking of, Fayetteville State coming in probably just by the nature of that win, coming in at number 2. And the new number 1 on the Division II rankings, Miles. Miles is, I believe they were 1 when we first dropped the rankings. Then Winston-Salem jumped them, and then Miles sits back. But look at that point differential between Miles and Fayetteville State, Steve. It's not much.
Yeah, I mean, they, Miles nationally ranked, as is WSSU. They have, they had, it's interesting though. They dropped one what was it? I'm sorry, not this past. So they dropped one recently as well, 17-3. It's interesting. I can't argue with Fayetteville over Winston-Salem State at this point. They did beat the Rams, and it's by 15. If you were at the game, it was a 5-point game with about 4 minutes to go, and then Fayetteville State just kind of put on the gas, and the red wave was diminished. But it's interesting with me with the CIAA and the SIC. Their philosophies on scheduling are so much different. And we can talk about this with the men as well. They play so many conference games against each other, whereas the CIAA, you might get a couple early December. You get a couple games in December that'll be conference games, but the conference season really doesn't start until just now. So I mean, it's hard to go. Again, Miles is nationally ranked, Fayetteville State, and then Winston-Salem right underneath them. I think the points are right. Maybe the order's off, but I think the points are right. And I think those are the top 3 by far. So,
how many conference games are they playing in the in the CIAA? Because I know they're playing 20, if I'm not mistaken, in the SIC.
Well, right now I'm looking at Miles. They played 17 conference games with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 left to go.
And is it really that many? I thought it was less than that. Really?
Yeah, wow. They play like, what is it, 24 games, I want to say?
Maybe it is 20. Okay, I thought it was 20, but you're okay, 24. Good Lord.
Yeah,
it's 24. It's 24.
And then, by contrast, Fayetteville State is 15-2 overall, all right? So they played 10 conference games. So And if you look at Fayetteville State, they played Shippensburg, Millersville. These are people that are going to be in the regional rankings. This was part of a CIAA PSAC challenge. And then you got UNC Pembroke, who's right next door to them. They played a couple other regional programs as well. So it's interesting. But I think it'll all come out in the wash. I did not see, and I talked to Coach Tyrese Brown, the head coach over at Fayetteville State. Head coach over at Fayetteville State about it. Should they be nationally ranked? And he said for him, the national rankings weren't so much of a deal as much as the regional rankings, because the NCAA tournament and Division II is done regionally. But I think now that there should be a case for, after what they did to Winston-Salem State, there should be a case for Fayetteville State to at least be in the receiving votes category, if not in the top 25. I think, especially when we get over to the men's side, I think the CIAA has shown that they've had years where they've had multiple teams get to the NCAA tournament and have wins as well. So it's going to be interesting.
I think what'll be most interesting is seeing when these regional rankings and when the final one comes out, how affected will the SIAC be by going from a 20-game to a 24-game conference schedule, where you have taken 4 non-conference opportunities away from your upper-level schools, or even just the schools that are like on the bubble. They have benefited by playing out-of-conference games versus having to play. And I think you only get like 26 or 28 in total at the Division II level. So you're talking already a limited field of games that you can play out of conference. So
yeah. I mean, I think this is maybe year 2 or 3 of that. Maybe AD or someone else, whenever could come in there. But I think I don't think it's that great. I do know at one point the CIAA went to, for maybe a year or two, where everybody played each other twice, which turned out to be maybe 22 games. But I think they went away from that after a while. Okay, so this is year 1 of 24 games. So yeah, I'm going to be interested to see how that does for them. Like I said, I do know Miles, what they played. I think I heard they played like a number 12 team in the country, and they lost to them. But that probably helped as part of why they were nationally ranked. It's going to be interesting. We won't really know until a month from now when we get into March, if the CIAA, which plays in the Atlantic region, which is generally a pretty tough region, if they'll continue to get multiple teams in. They got 2 in on the women's side last year, Fayetteville State and Winston-Salem State. If they'll continue to get 2 of the 8 spots this year as well, or maybe more, because in the men last year, and we'll talk about them in a second, we saw the CIAA got 3, and 2 of them won a game. So,
wow. All right, let's move over to the top 5 men's ranking. These are the men's ranking. Don't be thrown off by the graphic text. Our intern was a little rushed. The top 5 men's ranking in the hunt: Virginia State, Clark, Atlanta, and Allen University, all outside of the top 5 on the men's rankings. I think these are the men's rankings. I think this might still be the women's rankings.
While you're pulling it up, I'll answer the question from Emmett Jones. Is WSSU the only D2 HBCU to win the D2 NCAA basketball championship? No. We were the first, but we're not the only. We had Virginia. We had North Carolina Central win one in 1989, and Virginia Union actually has 3 of them on the men's side and 1 on the women's side as well. So CIAA women also have Hampton in 1988 and Shaw in 2013 as national champions. So, Winston-Salem State isn't the only, but we were the first to win the NCAA title. The first HBCU to win the national title, which is often confused, was actually Tennessee State. They won the NAIA title 3 years in a row.
All right, here are the rankings. I do have it. I don't have the graphic for it, but I do have the rankings here in front of me for the Division II men's rankings. I'm just going to give the top 5, not going to tell you who's in the hunt. Number 5, Morehouse College coming in at number 5. Number 4, Tuskegee. Number 4. That'd be shocking, especially after recent events of the win by Morehouse. But I think it has to do more so with the non-conference wins, more so being slightly ahead of Morehouse. Number 3 is Claflin. Claflin comes in at number 3 on the men's level. Number 2, Fayetteville State, winners of 8 in a row. So we've got Fayetteville State, the number 2 team on the women's level, and the number 2 team on the men's level. Both have 8-game winning streaks. The number 1 team on the D2 men's side, Virginia Union, coming in at number 1 on the men's level. And I think they are still nationally ranked, last I checked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're nationally ranked, but really, really interesting when you get into it. Fayetteville State, after their Super Bowl, their win over WSSU, they went ahead and they played a really tough Claflin team who has, since coming into the CIAA, has always been a contender. Never quite got to their championship game yet, but maybe this will be the year. They beat them on a last-second shot. Claflin held them to only, I think, 82 points, which is the lowest that they've seen since before Christmas. So you got Claflin there and Fayetteville State, but and Virginia Union, obviously their record and being nationally ranked definitely holds some weight. But if you look at it, they have matched up against Fayetteville State twice, actually. The first one was in Richmond, and Virginia Union won that game, but it was a triple overtime game. Then Virginia Union came south, hit 95 South, and ended up in Cumberland County. And they got treated pretty badly by the Broncos. It was a pretty solid loss there. So it's interesting. Number 1 and number 2 have played each other twice and split. Will we see them played again in the CIAA tournament? I wouldn't be against it. I'd like to see it. But shout out to Coach Jay Butler and the job he's doing over at Virginia Union. I had them ranked number 3 in my poll, and he was the coach that quoted my poll with the eyes. I don't know, Jay. You gotta let me know how much you're making. That might put you up over Winston, but that's a place where you're expected to win. That's a place where you're expected to win, and he has done that. But their expectation is championships, and he's been there for a decade. He's got one CIAA championship, and at a lot of schools that puts you in the Hall of Fame. And at Virginia Union, there's that pressure. I talked about their building earlier. If you go to their building, etched in stone, because it does look like it is it does look like a building from the Pantheon. It literally does. If you ever Google it, it says 4-time national champions. That's etched into the stone of their building. So that's the expectation there. Jay has had some teams that have been really good, 20 plus wins. In the last couple of years, one of them was the one that fell to my WSSU squad back in 2023, but they were able to get a bid. It's really fascinating at the CIAA. Can Claflin get their first CIAA championship? Can Devin Hearn pick it up in his first season at Fayetteville State? And then can Virginia Union finally get back on top of the throne? And then even down there in the hunt, they're not on there, but I do see they're listed Bluefield State. Coach DeLessio was, I'll say it, banished to Bluefield State. They don't have, I think they're getting a band, but they don't have cheerleaders. That's been my saying, the last couple years.
Bluefield State doesn't have cheerleaders?
They don't. I think they're working on it. Bluefield State is an interesting story, but the work he's doing there, and then you can't count Coach Lonnie Blow and his guys out. They're the defending champions. Everybody forgets they've had a pretty rough But you never know once we get into CIAA tournament play. So there's just a lot going on. And then obviously you got Morehouse and Tuskegee, the Cuffs Classic. The Cuffing Classic. Maybe that'll be we'll brand it now. Yeah. So and Clark Atlanta and Miles there too.
Don't we, Steve? Don't we have to somehow start talking it into existence? Obviously, the schedule and the results will speak to this happening. But don't we just have to have Bluefield and Fayetteville State on the same side of the bracket? And I'm talking like I got to have Fayetteville State with the double bye, because the double bye is the kiss of death, in my opinion, from what I've seen. And Bluefield to have to play maybe the first game in, so that way they get 2 games in a row under their belt by the time they play Fayetteville State. I think that is the scenario that would be the kiss of death for Fayetteville State.
Well, if it keeps going, here's what I see. I see Fayetteville State, if they can hold off Claflin and they got the upper leg on them right now and win the CIAA South, they will have a bye. The tournament starts on Tuesday. They will play on Wednesday against one of the lower seeds, which if my Rams are lucky enough to win on Tuesday, they'll probably be the sacrificial Rams on the men's side.
No pun intended.
You got, I'm taking right now, I got in my bracket, I got Virginia Union and Fayetteville State getting the number 1 seeds, which means they play on Wednesday. And then if they advance, then they play on Friday in the semis. So I've got Bluefield State getting the number 2 out of the 2 or the 3 out of the North, which puts them, if I'm not mistaken, playing on. They don't play until Thursday, and so then they play on Thursday, and then if they win, then we could see on the CIAA Friday night. We could see Fayetteville. I would love to see Fayettille versus Bluefield State.
Please.
And then
please, basketball gods, lower G, please.
And then VSU and VUU play each other.
Oh, my God. What an epic Friday night that'll be.
Yeah. I got another scenario. I'm gonna go ahead and throw it out there for you too. It's probably not gonna make people feel that great. But I'll give you guys the stuff free. But I also have in the semis, I have Bluefield State, coached by my guy Paul Davis, taking on Fayetteville State in the semis, taking down the Broncos. And then I've got Winston-Salem State and Coach Terry taking on Virginia Union.
Ooh, wow.
Taking down her old team. And then I got my 2 Rams that I went to school with in the D2 transition era going head-to-head for the CIAA championship on Saturday. That's the, and because I said it like that, it probably won't happen like that. But if it does, please clip this. Please clip this.
You heard it here, February 1st, the first day of the month. Steve speaking it into existence, trying to make it happen. All right, let's go to the Division I rankings here. These are the Division I BCSN top 5 for the women and the men. Starting out in the hunt, Norfolk State and Alabama State just outside of the top 5 on the D1 side. Coming in at number 5, Alcorn State. How about the big bad
the Alcorn State
Braves?
Bison?
I gotta talk to the intern. I gotta tell the intern to pay attention to these logos. I know it's hard. Maybe we have to come up with another method here. I love but I'm not gonna poo-poo on having interns. You know how hard it is.
I get it.
And then there you go. See, the
Howard
Hawks.
Okay.
The Howard. Jesus. Pay attention to the words, folks. Don't worry about the logos. Howard comes in on the women's side at number 4. Number 3, Maryland Eastern Shore. I mean, just switching conferences here. Maryland Eastern Shore.
Jaguars,
right. With a very slight margin over Howard. Right. I believe Maryland Eastern Shore is still unbeaten in conference.
Yeah, they are. They are unbeaten. I'm surprised to see them this low, but
Exactly. That Alcorn State Bison versus North Carolina A&M game was wild. Exactly. You guys got it. I will tell the intern about relying on AI. Thank you, them boys. It's a great lesson to remind the young people, but I'm not gonna poo-poo to help. So it's just a lesson to learn. Southern Bulldogs coming in at number. Jesus, this is so much right now. This is so much. Southern comes in at number 2. This is live. I just want you all to know this is live television. This will obviously be fixed and when we post these out on social, because God help us that we post it on social and it looked like this. But have fun with it while you can. And the number 1 team,
not the Jackson State Rattlers.
God, if that's what I see, I'm gonna die right now. Please, God, don't let that be the Jackson State Rattlers. Woo! The Alabama A&M Spartans. The Alabama A&M Lady Bulldogs are the new number 1 team.
This is Sparta.
Yeah. What I find interesting, there is still, I was just looking this up, there's a 2-way tie in the SWAC. Right. Well, I can't even call it a tie because by nature of the win-loss record, Alabama A&M, they have won 8 games in a row, sitting in sole first place in the SWAC. They lost that opening game to Mississippi Valley State, and it was like their wake-up call. And then they have won 8 in a row, and we're at the halfway point for the women. They're right at the halfway point. They're 8-1. So Alcorn. I believe Alcorn is also 8-1, but Alabama A&M, they wiped the floor with Alcorn, beat them by 40.
They made them change their logo.
Yeah, they made them change the logo. They said,
Coach Thornton. She's doing, what she did at UAPB, and looking like the team that we thought we would see after last year. So yeah, I think it's it's definitely going to be the logos are still throwing me off. But between Alabama A&M, Southern, and then I know they're looking bad, but I just have the feeling that at some point Jackson State is going to wake up. The Jackson State Rattlers are going to wake up and have a say in this. Or maybe even the FAMU Tigers. Who knows?
Oh Lord. So Alcorn apparently is 7-1. I thought everyone had played 9 games already, but there is this weird scheduling thing in the SWAC where everybody, because you have that one weekend where you don't play a Thursday and a Saturday because of your rival. So that may be existing. So Alcorn is actually 7-1. Thank you for the clarification. That's what I also saw on the website, but I sometimes think the websites are wrong, kind of similar to sometimes the graphics that the interns put together. So there you go. So get a chuckle out of that. No, I will not be posting this on social. It's too much. It's too much hilarity will ensue. Somebody will clip it and run it. So have fun there. All right. Dr. Carey was like, yeah, please no JSU Raptors. Just as long as I don't see that up here, I'm like, we're good. Please, God, do not put that up there. Okay, here's on the men's side of Division I in the hunt. Morgan State coming just outside of the top 5. Howard University. Florida A&M drops out of the top 5 after some tough losses. And then UAPB comes in just outside. Number 5. Men, the Alabama A&M men, got good men at home against Florida A&M on Saturday. They will get ready for a contest against Bethune-Cookman. That's going to be a barn burner. That's going to be real good. Number 4 is North Carolina Central. Quietly a team that nobody's talking about. You remember we always were talking about North Carolina Central, but after a couple of bad seasons, I'll say less than what we had grown to expect from North Carolina Central. I don't know how you want to frame it, bad or less than, whatever. Look who's back in the top 5. I guess we got to pay attention again to Coach Lavelle and North Carolina Central again. Number 3, Maryland Eastern Shore suffered their first loss on the men's side. I wonder how much of that delay, how much being away from probably maybe almost 10 days where they didn't play a game. I wonder if that had an effect on them. I had a nice streak going. But they dropped to number 3. Also, number 2, Tennessee State. Actually kind of in a tie in terms of points. So technically, we could say Tennessee State and Maryland Eastern Shore both tied at 2. Nolan Smith doing a great job there in the OVC for Tennessee State. And number 1, the Wildcats, Hale Wildcats, the Bethune-Cookman University Wildcats. Coach, I should say Coach, AD, and VP Reggie Theus he now got 3 jobs now at Bethune-Cookman, and he's got a team that they take on Alabama A&M on Monday. That's going to be the game. I think that might be your game of the night in the SWAC. Number 1 Bethune-Cookman versus number 5 Alabama A&M. Should be a good game. Thoughts there on that top 5, Steve?
Yeah, you kind of knew coming in, Dante Jackson was going to work his magic over there. I'm kind of seeing some parallels here between Alabama A&M and Fayetteville State. Is Alabama A&M the Fayetteville State of the SWAC? Both of their teams are in the top 5. Conference switcheroo in coaches. Nice building. Maybe not the team. So it's just interesting. But yeah. So Alabama A&M in the hunt. Like you said, Central is they had it rolling until that. They had it rolling until COVID-19. Literally, I mean, they had won 3 championships in a row. They were going for number 4 and looked like the favorite. And then I was there that day in Norfolk when the world shut down and they didn't get a chance to get out on the court again. And since then, they have struggled. Even, it used to be like you just knew they were going to get to the championship game, but they've only got to Friday night once since then. And how much of that has to do with the football program having some success and maybe them having to pull some resources over there. Always interesting dynamics going on there. Coach Moulton didn't forget how to coach. And so, they've had to adjust in this NIL era, which he's been, every year he lets you know he's not a big fan of, but it is what it is. I think interesting too. You got down their numbers. I think even really more for me when you look at the MEAC in terms of your teams that are, I guess, would be 6 and 7. Morgan State and Howard. Howard. Again, Coach Blakeney has turned that program into a job that it hasn't been. We're talking about turning jobs. I don't know that Howard would have been ranked that high in the MEAC in previous iterations of the MEAC, despite it being Howard and despite their location. But I think in this new MEAC, he has found a way to really up the expectations because, they didn't go to the NCAA tournament for like 30 years. So, and then you got Morgan State. Morgan State, they look nice right now, but they got to show me something. Coach Brodus has been there as long as Coach Blakeney has. And, 15 years ago, Morgan State was running the MEAC right before Norfolk State and Central got used to be in Division I. So, how long they're going to have to do a lot more to impress me. I'm not going to be a believer until I see them cut down the nets in Norfolk. Maryland Eastern Shore, tough loss for Coach Hill and those guys, but again, they hadn't played in forever. I've seen enough of him to know that I'm not counting them out from winning this all this year. I'm really not. And again, I saw with my own eyes over at WSSU where he won the CIAA his second year there, and I think when he was at Shaw, it might have been his 3rd year there. So it doesn't take him long to turn a program around, and he knows he's a master motivator. And I think this is a blip on the radar for them. And I know everybody's talking about Bethune-Cookman, but Tennessee State. I mean, they're looking pretty good right now. We'll see. Emmett says, "Is Norfolk State's dynasty over?" I don't think so.
Let's back up,
It,
Emmett. Slow down, slow
I
down.
mean, you
One
got to think
average
what
season. Come on.
you got to think what Coach Jones has done with that program. Over the past dozen years or so that he's been there is pretty remarkable, especially when you're talking about, he was a part of that 2012 team where, they had that team. He was an assistant, and they had that team together for, a while. They were able to build, but now this year, this pretty much every year you're starting over with a new team, and you have to figure eventually that's going to catch up with you, or your luck of your draw may run out. Maybe this is it, but hey, the tournament's still in Norfolk, and I mean,
The Norfolk State
depending, there's always this saying, and maybe it's real, maybe it's not. They need Norfolk State there to make some money at least till Friday. They need to at least get them to the championship game. Now,
I see what you
so we'll see. So but I still don't think anybody will want to play. I don't think anybody will want to play Norfolk State.
No.
Or Norfolk State in the MEAC tournament. So yeah,
No.
I think the MEAC, even though we're a month and a half away from that, is going to be. I think there are going to be 4 or 5 teams that if they win, pretty much anybody other than Coppin State and Dell State, and South Carolina State. Anybody outside of those 3 winning, I'm not going to be super surprised. But we'll see.
And what's crazy about that, and I see obviously, when you see Norfolk State lose by 28, was it last night to Howard, and they'd beaten Howard 7 of the last 8 times. So, I mean, that's a heck of a run. 7 of 8. I was heavy on Norfolk State. Did not see them getting beat by 20. Even when they were down by 15 at the half or something like that, I was like, oh, this is ripe for a comeback or at least a close game. Howard is like, nope, not even letting you get close to the door. But I agree with you, Steve, 100%. I don't want to see them on my half of the bracket in their backyard in that tournament. You just don't want that. Give me any other route. What's interesting is you talked about that 1 year thing. Well, that's obviously that's new norm in college athletics, college basketball. You can probably expect every year to have, if you have a top 8 or 9 rotation, to probably have to replace 75% of it every year.
Yeah.
I would be fascinated to find the coach who's able, especially, I won't say it. Look, definitely you won't do it in a 3-year time span. You might get fortunate and be able to get a 2-year run with some guys, but I just think the way college basketball is now, every year you're going to replace 75% of your top 9. Especially at the mid-major level.
Yeah, and I mean, and they've been able to do it better than anyone else. I mean, they've got 3 championships since, I would say, this post-COVID era where NIL and transfer portal have just really taken shape. And like I've seen, you've seen North Carolina Central men's basketball take a step back. Norfolk State has kind of thrived in it. There was the they lost to Howard, in those couple of years, but even then they were right there. So it's tough to do. But again, like I said, Coach Jones, there's the addition. I knew with Cleo Hill coming to the MEAC, the addition of him, he's another championship winning coach, a proven coach, even though it's not at the Division I level. And I think that just added one more to, when you talk about Blakeney, when you talk about Jones, you talk about Moten, Cleo Hill, despite being in that Eastern Shore location, which I think is probably one of the 5 toughest jobs in college basketball, he's going to have his guys right there in year 2. So even after losing his leading scorer, Katron Shaw, who came with him from Winston-Salem State, he's now at Old Dominion, who's a double-figure scorer and a really solid player for them too. So everybody's having to make those adjustments.
when did he leave? What, during the season, after the first? Well, you said he came with him, but I mean, and this is Hill's first year, so
This is his second year.
Oh, okay, my mistake. Okay, I thought it was his second year. Okay,
Yeah, this is his second year. So, he played on the championship team at WSSU as a freshman in 2023.
Right.
Then he went with Cleo last year, averaged like 18 a game, had some really good non-conference games. He went from a guy that as a D2 program, people were even sleeping on picking him up to now being an all-conference player in the MEAC to now being over at Old Dominion and I mean,
that's how it works.
He's probably
go from D2.
He's probably making as much as some coaches in the MEAC. So,
wow.
It's that just shows you that landscape of college basketball impacting all levels, including HBCUs. He is, he's averaging 16.6 points a game, shooting 46%, at Old Dominion. I mean, he's the real deal, and he went under the radar in that post-COVID era. So, Coach Hill,
keep an eye on him, Steve. He will be somewhere else next year. He will be the guy that will go from D2 to mid-major D1 to, I don't even know what, an upper level mid-major D1.
Well, I think this is his
senior 5 next year if he's got more eligibility.
I think this is his senior year, and I don't think I know this is his senior year because I watched him in high school. He actually played not far from me. That was my one assist. That was my one assist to the WSSU basketball program.
There you go.
I kind of put him on there, so I'm super happy rooting for him.
And you won a championship because of it. So they better give you a ring. Did they send you a ring for that, Steve? Come on.
Yeah, they don't send me a ring. They don't like me as much as y'all think they do. I'm kidding. They for the most part, they like me. So, but it's super happy for him. But that's just an example of what the coaches are dealing with now. And it's the economy. I mean, it's just like, when Coach Hill took his talents over to Maryland Eastern Shore. They're Division I. They pay more than WSSU was paying. So it's the economy, and everybody's dealing with it, and everybody's in that flux.
The top 5 rankings will be posted on all the social media handles. Correct graphics, because I know you guys got a hoot. I wish we could do the wrong graphic thing, but that everybody doesn't take the jokes well. So, but no, I mean, all credit, congratulations to those teams who are in the top 5. It continues to fluctuate and move, and so we'll continue to keep our eyes open. Again, big game Monday night in the SWAC. Bethune-Cookman traveling to Alabama A&M. That might be the feature SWAC game to look at going into this game. What's that? Oh, 80. Let's see. Some interesting. Wow. Okay. Real quick before we close up tonight, Steve, obviously with this being Super Week, the beginning of Super Week, and the Super Bowl, which will be next Sunday, just kind of a little public service announcement for those of you who watch our show. I will tell you now, 80 and I will not do a show tomorrow night or next Sunday night. I know me, I'll be watching the game somewhere, somehow. AD is obviously traveling, as Morehouse Baseball, I think, is in New Orleans this upcoming weekend. So I don't even know if he'll be back somewhere. So, but we're tossing around the idea of doing a Sunday morning show. So just to kind of give you a heads up, kind of in that old Dr. Cavill time slot during the football season, that 10 o'clock Eastern. So we might wake up and do a Sunday morning show on Super Sunday. So just kind of give you all a heads up. But just in case you didn't know, I was checking the interwebs, Steve. We have at least one HBCU player playing in the 2026 Super Bowl. That would be Terrell Jennings from Florida A&M, part of the New England Patriots roster. Now, I do know there's a couple of coaches that have some HBCU coaching ties. I think there's Milton Patterson, who is on the Patriots staff. I know that for a fact. I don't know. Have you heard of are there any other coaches on any of the staffs that you recall or have,
Yeah, there's a young man who used to play quarterback for Shaw when I first started HBCU game day. His name is Quinshawn Odom. He works with the Seahawks organization. I forget exactly what his title, what his role is, but he's there. And then I think it's you're seeing actually the last couple of weeks we saw a former HBCU coach being named the defensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys, who was over with Latrell Scott at Virginia State and Norfolk State, Christian Parker. And then you also had Durante Jones, who was named the defensive coordinator with the Minnesota Vikings, who is a Morgan State former player and coached at Bowie State. So, shout out to all of our guys who are getting there, whether they're players or coaches and former players. So exciting to see. And as far as who will win Super Bowl 60, I'll tell you, I've not watched a minute of NFL playoffs. I really haven't. I'm that disconnected from it. So will I tune in? Probably.
It's hard to keep up, no doubt. You guys in the chat, New England or Seattle, you guys post your responses there in the chat. I just cannot in any lifetime root for the New England Patriots after the years of misery that they caused me. And I just do not want to go through another decade of a Patriot dynasty, whatever that may look like, even though I think they have a coach and they have a quarterback. And I'm just like, God dog it. Those are the two things that if you have, you can do anything. And they got a defense. So it's like, I don't know if their quarterback is healthy. That's sort of the X factor. I don't really know if their quarterback is healthy enough to win it this year, but I think they got one. But I'll be pulling for the Seahawks. I think that's where I'll be going. I thought about, you guys stay locked in with our social media, with my social media. I may do a squares contest, a Super Bowl squares contest. I may do a prop contest. Where I put something out and you guys pick, maybe 10 or 15 Super Bowl props, might have a prize set up. So, trying to do some things to engage and hopefully you guys who are going to be watching next Sunday, give you something to enjoy. Any other football related notes that you come across, Steve, before we close up shop tonight?
Morehouse, I beg of you, hire those young men a head football coach. Please get it done. Please get it done. Bring some order. But, I think the report did come out. Dawson Odoms is supposedly the choice over at Bowie State. So that'll be interesting. This will be the second time in a couple of weeks we've seen a former Division I coach come to the D2 ranks. That Bowie State job, is an interesting one. Obviously, Damon Wilson. Obviously, you go back even further to Henry Frazier. He was able to get those guys to the division championship in the CIAA, championship game in the CIAA, and make that job better before he went to Prairie View. And then Damon Wilson was able to take it and run the show over in the CIAA after a couple false starts. And so, things didn't work out for Kyle Jackson. Going to be interesting. Bowie State, they landed where they landed on my jobs list for basketball. Football, I don't know. Now I'm going to have to do a football list. But, it's going to be interesting. They hired, Coach Odoms, who a defensive guy, and the CIAA is increasingly an offensive league with Dr. Alvin Parker. Why hasn't that man gotten a Division I job? Please, I'm begging you guys, take him. And then also, Johnson C. Smith and, the head coach over there, he's doing an amazing job too. He's an offensive guy. Winston-Salem State, we just hired an offensive guy. So it's an offensive league. So hiring a defensive coach is it's an interesting choice. You got to be able to score points. So it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be fascinating to see what the new look CIAA looks like with Dawson Odom, who actually played in the CIAA when he was at North Carolina Central. They were in the CIAA, so excited. He's a good guy. Always, low key funny. A lot of people don't necessarily get his humor, but he's low key funny, and always, everyone who's played for him has nothing but good things to say about him. So, I wish him luck. Other than October 10th when they come down to Bowman Gray Stadium.
There you go. I'm sure at some point next week or the week after, we'll have more schedules that are starting to release.
That was the other part. Yeah. It's interesting. If you haven't noticed, over in the CIAA, I know a couple years ago, SIC was the first to make the shift to no divisions, and that kind of shook up their thing. And then you've noticed the last couple of years where games have counted for some teams and not counted for some teams after the CIAA went to one division. All of that is from St. Augustine's dropping football, and there was a north-south schedule. So now it's literally all one league, and we're starting to see that some of the games are going to be played earlier that are traditionally played at the end of the season. So I know Winston-Salem State, we don't have our schedule out yet, but I did see Johnson Smith put their schedule out, and we usually play that game the last weekend in October. That game has now been moved up to September 12th, which means that it's probably going to be a night game. And I don't think we've ever had a night. I don't know that we've had a night game against Johnson C. Smith in eons. So that'll be pretty interesting. So I think it's good. I think on the back end, everybody still has their rivalry games. They'll put Fayetteville State on there. They're not really our rival, but they'll put us on there with them. But you still see Virginia State, Virginia Union. You still see Smith and Livingstone. All of that's going to be at the end, but it's kind of mixed up. You got some teams playing conference at the beginning of the year. So I think it's going to be good. It's going to shake some things up. You kind of get used to that rhythm every year of knowing you'll see certain opponents at a certain time. But I think it's good to shake up. The shake-up is going to be good.
And shame if the CIAA and the SIC cannot get together and come up with a one weekend. Give me at least 6 matchups between SIC versus CIAA. Come on, you got to 7 because you got to have a cup. You got to make it out of something. You got to turn this into something that is like something worth talking about. The matchups. Give me 7 games between the best 7 of from the previous year. The 7 versus 7, the 6 versus 6. You know what I'm saying? Something, Steve, that you can sell and market. I don't know.
I do know that Winston-Salem State and Albany State had contracted to play the first week 0. Yes, week 0, Brian, of the D2. But
which is really what, week 1? That's Labor Day weekend of the Division 1
August
schedule.
29th. We were supposed to play them, but
that's week 0. That's true. Week 0.
Yeah, but a school in Tallahassee, and I'm not talking about the ones that do the tomahawk. Apparently, they came in, took our game, offered them some money, and they, so
money
they're going to be there now. So we'll see who we have for our week 0. So Quentin Gray will be facing off against his former team in his debut as a head coach. That's pretty cool for them. Look, my thing is get us a money game and get us a good game against a D2 opponent, and whoever it's from, just make it make sense. I wouldn't mind us playing. I wouldn't mind WSSU taking on Clark Atlanta in a home and home. The battle of the Reds. We're the two schools who actually have proper red as our main color. A lot of people, it's their accent color.
Red, black, and white. Red, black, and white. Isn't that the 3-color scheme?
Yeah. So black is not officially a WSSU color. Okay. It's scarlet and white. Those are our colors.
Thank you.
And it used to be blue was the accent, then they changed it to black. I'm fighting for them to bring back the blue, but right
I've
now we
never
both
seen the
got it.
blue. What year was that? I've
That
never
was
seen
in
the blue.
this was in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. They changed it. They changed it
Okay.
around the turn of the century. So I've got a
Okay.
whole campaign on bringing back the blue. But in the meantime, let us play Clark Atlanta. Give us a chance to go to Atlanta, or we owe Tuskegee now. Now that we got a new head coach, Torrey Woodbury, who defeated Tuskegee in the
Red Tails.
No. Back in the day when they played in the CIAA and the SIC, the Pioneer
Oh, the
Bowl.
Pioneer Bowl.
Yes,
Pioneer Bowl.
yes, he
Yeah.
defeated Coach James and Coach James and Tuskegee in the Pioneer Bowl one year. They got him back the next year. But we enjoy playing. We enjoy playing Tuskegee. They had that neutral site game over there in Montgomery, but come on. So because they really owed us a home game from when we went down there in 2019, and they just never gave it back to us. So we played the Red Tails last year, but we like playing them. So Tuskegee, Clark Atlanta, or Morehouse. As long as the
Morehouse.
football team
If
behaves
there's
in the
has a coach.
handshake line, I think I'd like to play any of those. So yeah. Or we can play
I
Albany
mean,
State. The battle of the real Rams. We're the real
oh,
Rams, and
oh,
they are the
wow.
Golden Rams. Sometimes I hear people in the SIC saying that we're the real Rams, the Red Rams, and they're the Golden Rams. We got the gold. We got the golden arches, and they got the golden arcs. So let's play that.
Well said, McDowell's and McDonald's. There you go. The gold.
Sponsored
You
by
gotta have
McDowell's. Yeah.
you gotta find the Maroon Tigers, or who are the Tigers in the CIAA?
We don't have tigers.
No Tigers. No
There
Tigers.
are literally no tigers. There
Well,
are literally no tigers in the
you're the only
CIAA.
conference. You're the
Well,
only
no,
conference
no
without
tigers in the
Tigers, right?
CIAA or in the MEAC. I guess that's a down south thing. There's not
MEAC
a
didn't have Tigers. Well, yeah, the Tigers have all left. The Tigers have all left the
The
MEAC.
Tigers are down south. But everybody likes to wear maroon. That's why I hate maroon. That's why I say we're the Red Rams. It's the real red, and it's not an accent color. Like some people, it's actually our school color. So
Wow, I've learned so much, Steve. I really have learned so much. I appreciate your time this evening. Make sure you guys are checking out HBCUGameDay.com. Make sure you're also following WSSU Ram Nation on social media, especially on YouTube. I love the fact that Steve is 100% invested in making sure that people know what is happening with WSSU Ram Nation in all sports.
tell the
not
Ram
just
truth.
The Ram truth. I learned something new about that Bronco chant. So see, I will now look at that post that I saw. I saw that post by somebody from
You got to
Fayetteville
go in the
State.
comments. You got to go in the comments, man. My guys from
Really?
WSSU
I gotta see if I can. I gotta see if I can find that video again, because I saw it and I got a chuckle out of it, but I never heard the original until you beautifully sung it for us earlier in the show.
Yeah, we really ramped that up. We really ramped up in the comments. So we had a good time with it, man. That WSSU Blue over there in Fayetteville, they want significance so bad.
As we close the show again, I did come across an article. We're now 28 and a half hours since the incident that occurred at the house involving Tuskegee head coach and at Morehouse game, following the Tuskegee Morehouse game, Coach Benji Taylor of Tuskegee. I came across an article here from the Jacksonville Free Press. And we talked about earlier in the show not hearing any statement really officially from the SIC. Well, this article does actually have a comment from the SIC midway through the article. And I'll just read kind of what the conference states, or at least the statement from the conference. It says, quote, "The SIAC takes the safety and dignity of all student athletes, coaches, and officials seriously. We are in the process of gathering facts to determine whether additional action is warranted." The SIC also added by stating that any disciplinary action related to the game would be handled through conference protocols. Both schools are scheduled to continue conference play this week. Again, still no word from Morehouse yet, no official statement. Maybe before Steve goes to bed, they might put a stay. I know you work long hours and early morning, Steve, so maybe at some point prior to sleep or after sleep, you will see a statement. Who knows? I don't know what the over.
I got nothing to do but look outside at the snow. So go ahead.
I think at this point we got to start saying over under is like, I'm going to say 10:30. 10:30 in the morning on Monday. Will we see a statement from Morehouse regarding what happened? Over or under 10:30 a.m.? I don't know. God bless them. I hope so. But again, fascinating, great conversation with Kyle T. Mosley in hour one. You can go back and listen to it if you missed any part of it. Also, go check out the BCSN Pod Zone podcast, download on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, all of your favorite podcast platforms. And you can kind of hear the conversation, a great conversation, great perspective, not only by Steve, but Kyle. For those of you who kind of want a little behind the scenes on how two of HBCU's best journalists kind of cover a story like this. And so please make sure to check out their content on the websites, but you can also go back and listen to hour one and get a good perspective on the incident. So we'll see what happens.
Southern, I talk about a news dump.
Uh-oh.
Southern releases its football schedule on Sunday night.
Did they really? Oh my God. Did they do a video or is it just
a graphic?
Just the graphic, no video.
Just straight up. So Alabama State on 5 p.m. 5 p.m.
That's a weekend news dump right there. Couldn't even wait until Monday morning.
Alabama State
crazy.
29th, Kentucky State September 5th, Houston September 12th, Louisiana Christian, not Texas Christian, not Louisiana State, but Louisiana Christian.
Is that NAIA Louisiana Christian?
You know what? They need to stop playing. Now, you talk about playing games, they need to stop playing, and they need to bring Winston-Salem State down to Baton Rouge for a true Pete Richardson Classic. Since Pete Richardson
is he a Winston-Salem State alum?
No, he coached at Winston-Salem State and led us to 3 championships before he went to Southern. See, they don't tell you that. They don't tell you that. But he won 3 CIAA championships in 5 years. Then played Southern 1 year, and they beat us, and then they took him as a head coach. And so
that sounds about right.
So and then they're at Jackson State September 26th. So mark your calendars for that. UAPB, at Prairie View, at Texas Southern, at FAMU on Halloween.
Ooh, scary.
That should be scary hours. Bethune-Cookman, November 7th, Alcorn State on the 14th, and, of course, the Bayou Classic, November 28th. So, yeah.
12-game schedule, right?
Yep, 12 games.
One of the things that was pointed out to me that I missed, I saw Zach McKinnon post this on socials. When Jackson State released their schedule, what was it, Saturday? Of course, they did a little video thing, which I'm going to give them leader in the clubhouse for showing some creativity and doing a schedule video. But while everybody else is just kind of dropping graphics, I noticed there were only 11 games on the schedule for Jackson State, and all HBC. What's fascinating is 11 games, 2 Division II opponents. I think they have Edward Waters and Tuskegee, but it's all
Why not call the
HBCU.
Rams?
I don't know, y'all. I don't know what's going on with y'all. Are y'all too far away to travel? I mean, is there room on the schedule? I don't know what's going on, but Jackson State still has. Well, right now they've got 2 bye weeks. It'll be interesting to see, do they schedule a 12th game or do they just exist with the 2 byes? Because, it's interesting. So, same for Hampton. Hampton has 11 games.
Yeah.
I don't understand how you don't take advantage of the 12-game opportunity. I mean, maybe it's just hard. I know it's hard. I know I'm saying that, and it's probably hard scheduling. But still, I would think you want 12 games if you can get it, and hopefully you can get an extra home game, because I know there's some schools that have 6 home games. For example, FAMU has 6 home games, which I can't remember the last time FAMU had 6 home games. I think Alabama A&M has 6 home games. That's like, wow, that's pretty impressive. Great opportunities, revenue generators. So is what it is. But all right. Well, that's going to do it for tonight's show, guys. Thank you for watching, all of you. Hit the thumbs up and the like button out the door. Again, I got to give a special thanks to Steven for hanging in with me tonight. Shout out to Kyle T. Mosley earlier. Hopefully AD Drew will be back. He should be back next week. He appreciates you respecting his position that he's in. So don't send him any texts and tweets and all that stuff. Just know AD's watching. He's out there. He hears what's going on. He's out there. He's working. He's grinding with everybody else at Morehouse to try to put out the best possible response. And we will soon hear from them when it's best for them to release a statement. But let's just hope that we can all grow from this situation and see our coaches treated with a little more dignity and respect in these kind of circumstances. So have a great week. It's the start of Black History Month. Have a great month, and let's continue to celebrate. It's been 100 years since this whole Black History first week, then month, has been recognized by this country. 50 years since it's been recognized as a month. So make a point to repost and retweet little nuggets and stories, whether it be sports or non-sports. Make sure to share that information on social media. Remind people that even with all the things going on in the world, Black history is 365 days, and there's a lot of great people that have made and are making history, and they are Black. There you go. All right. That's going to do it. Be well, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon on the other side. This has been the BCSN Sports Wrap right here on the Black College Sports Network. We'll talk at you later. Peace out, everybody.